So in this vlog, we would like to create an app update alert dialog in your Flutter application, so for which you need not require any server-side coding or creating a special API for it, and you need not check the version. You can skip all these things, but you can have an alert dialog box which will remind the user to update the application. So for which we would like to make use of Firebase remote configuration. So in our previous tutorial, we have started with the Firebase remote configuration, and we have done with a tutorial where we try to extract the information from our Firebase and try to display it on our page. So if you have skipped the tutorial, I would request you to go through that part of the tutorial before getting started, because there you can get the configuration, the basics about the Firebase remote configuration, and that will be useful in this part of the tutorial. So now let's get started with this tutorial, and we need to add the dependencies here, and the dependencies are like Firebase core and Firebase remote configuration here. So make sure you add these two dependencies before getting started. And now let's start by importing material.dart first. So this is the very first step we do for every app, and specify the void main here, and here our void main should be asynchronous so as to initialize the Firebase and fetch the data. So widgets flutter binding dot ensure initialized, and later Firebase dot initialize app. And now let's try to specify run app here. So this is a common step we do for every application, and inside which I'm going to specify the material app. So I'm not specifying the basics here, and if you are having any queries, or if you are a beginner who is watching this tutorial, I suggest you to go through our previous tutorials on Flutter where we have covered what is a material app and why we are making use of it, and all the basic concepts. So inside the material app you can just specify a title here. So I'm going to specify a title like remote config and home. So here we need to specify a home class here. So for specifying the home class, I'm making use of a future builder because we are trying to fetch the information and then display it onto the screen. So at the app start we need to fetch the information. Why? Because the app update information, you need to make sure whenever the user open your application, then you need to display this particular thing. So for which on app startup only we need to handle this scenario, future builder of type remote configuration. So we have added two dependencies, right? So based on which you will get this one. So now let's try to import the remote configuration here. So we have imported the remote config.dart file, and now specify their configurations. So the first thing is future here, and within the future we would like to specify a method setup remote configuration. So this is for the same thing which we have done in our previous tutorial also. So with this particular method we will try to fetch the information and make use of it in our application, and try to add a builder here. So this builder requires two parameters. The first thing is context. So let's specify the context here, and this second one is asynchronous snap. So of type remote config snapshot. So yes, this is small s over here. So that's it. And here we have not created this function yet, so it is showing that isn't defined. So we'll be doing it here this will expect a return type, so let us return a class home which will accept remote configuration snapshot dot required data. So now we need to create a home class as well. So first let's try to create a home class. So let's create a stateful widget home, and let's remove this constructor and add remote config. And now let's try to create a constructor with this field and add required here, so that we require this, and so that now you can make use of this remote configuration here and append the data, or you can just make use of the data coming from the Firebase, that is remote configuration, and display in the container widget here. So just as we did in our previous tutorial, but this particular tutorial we are trying to display an alert box. So before getting into the application, we'll try to display an alert box to the user stating that your app is out of date, so just try to update the app. And so now let's create this particular remote configuration method. So this is a future builder and of type remote config, and let's specify the method name here, setup remote config, and yes, this will expect a remote config to be returned. And also this function is of a type asynchronous, so that you need to wait till you receive the information. Now let's get back to the Firebase console first. So this is our Firebase console, and here I have created three variables here. One is message, and the other one is update, and the other one is title here. So the message and title are of a type string, and update is of a type boolean. So let's see one by one here. So here the message is the key name here, and the data is like continue with app update. So this is a message you will be receiving whenever you fetch the information from the console with the help of this message key here. And the other one is update. This is a boolean here, so of type data type boolean, and the default value is true here. So now for time being, let's make it false and save it, and you need to publish the changes whenever you try to make any change here. And the third one is title here. So we have specified the title for our alert box, and it's like app update, and also this is of a type string here, and this is a default, this is a description you can just provide, or you can just skip it. So I've just removed the description, and if at all you require, you can just provide the description over there. And also you can add few more parameters if you require here, and you can just select all these required parameters, and you can move to a group here. So based upon the screen, you can just create some groups and use them in your application. And these are the analytics, so that you can see that what is the usage of this particular remote configuration task in your application. So now let's create a variable update here. So variable update, and let's use widget dot remote configuration dot get boolean, and here let's specify the key name update, which we have just created in our Firebase console. Here why we have used widget is like we have specified our remote configuration here in stateful widget, and to make use of this inside our state, we need to add widget here, so that it will access the elements which we have specified in our stateful widget. And now let's try to return a scaffold. So and let's on specify an app bar for it, and for this app bar you need to make use of a text widget within the title, and specify some title like remote configuration, and you can just make it constant. And the second thing is like we need to specify body here, So before specifying the body here, we'd like to complete the remote configuration function, and also we require one more function for showing an alert box. So final remote configuration equal to remote dot instance, and now await remote configuration dot. So fetch the information, and now await and remote configuration dot activate. So you can just do this in a single step here. So like remote configuration dot fetch and activate. So this will be saying when we try to refresh the information, and now return remote configuration here. So we don't require future builder here, we just require future. So let's remove this, and now create alert dialog function here. So show alert dialog, and this will also accept build context and also remote configuration. And this will return an alert dialog. So the three key things in alert dialog which we are going to specify now is like title. So make use of a text widget, and here we'll be fetching the information again from our Firebase. So let's specify remote configuration dot get string, and here we have specified a title, and the second thing is like content. So the content is also the message which we are going to use from our Firebase again. So get string, we have specified a key like message, and now the third thing is like actions. So the actions we can specify with the help of a widget here, and these actions are nothing but the buttons which you can see in your alert dialog, like yes, no, cancel, all these kinds of buttons you will be specifying in an alert dialog box, right? So these are the actions now. So let's create a widget, so that is a button like cancel. So let's create a text button. So the text button will have the two key parameters like on press and child here. So the child will have again a text widget which will display the information like cancel. So let's create a clone of the text button again, and this time we will make it like update, and also the text to be update. Add constant here, and specify these two widgets here like cancel comma update, and just add a semicolon here. So that's it, our alert dialog box is now ready. So this title and message we are getting from here. So title and message from Firebase again. So now we have got our two functions ready, like setup remote configuration and show alert dialog. And here come back to our body section here. So based on the update variable here, so if update equal to true, then display show alert dialog, and this will accept context and remote configuration. So add widget before this, and if not true, so then you need to display a container here. So this container will have a child which will have a text widget. So you can just add your own data, just I'm adding like dashboard, and you can just wrap it to the center. So wrap it to the center of the screen. So what we are trying to do is like if update equal to true, so what is update? So update is this particular field, so currently it is false. So if it is true, then we will try to display an alert box so that there is an update in the app. You need to make sure you update the app before using it, and if it is false, then we will be trying to display our app default content here. So this is that particular section. You can just append this according to your application requirement. Here we don't require this container anymore, so you can just remove unnecessary container here. You can just add a constant before this, and now let's try to run this code and see the output once. So our app is now been installed onto the emulator here. So yeah, we have got an error here, no Firebase app has been created. So here you can see we have not specified await here. We have got asynchronous method, but we have not specified await, so that we need to wait a bit for Firebase to get initialized, then only we need to fetch the information. And now let's try to run this code again and see the output, and now you can see we have got our app displayed, and as you can see our update is currently false, so you need to make sure you change it to true so that you can see the alert dialog box. So okay, let's try to add, and now let's try to add a floating action button here so that you can just try to refresh and see the changes here itself. So here after the body, let's try to add a floating action button also. So this floating action button again will have the parameters like on press and child parameter, using which you can specify a text. For now let's specify an icon. So generally we specify icon, so let's specify an icon. Refresh icon will be specifying, and within the on press method let's try to specify the process of refreshing the data. So first of all, make this to be an asynchronous method, and so let's specify try and catch block here, so using which we would like to fetch the information, and if there is any error you can just handle it here. So within the try block, let's try to await widget dot remote configuration dot setup configuration settings. So remote configuration settings, you need to specify here the things like fetch timeout. So currently I'm specifying the duration in terms of seconds, like 10 seconds, and later let's specify minimum fetch interval. So I don't require any minimum fetch interval, so I'm specifying this to be 0. Later on let's try to widget dot remote configuration dot fetch and activate the data. So this is what the thing we have done here. Also you can see fetch and activate, so we are just doing it in a single line here. And here if you have any exception, you can just try to print or handle the way you want. So I'm just trying to print the exception here, dot toString, and yes, we have got our refresh button also now. So now let's try to rerun the code and see the output. And so this is our dashboard, and when you try to refresh, yes, we are still able to see the dashboard. And try to make it to true and save the things and publish the changes here. And now come back here and try to tap on the refresh button. And yes, we have missed one more thing here. You need to set state. So once you have did the changes, try to just set state again, so that here you can see we have got our app update now. And let's try to see one more. Let's make it false here and save this and publish the changes. So all these steps are mandatory. Tap on the refresh button here. You have got the dashboard now, and come back here and try to make it to true again and save, publish the changes. And when you try to refresh now, you will be getting a alert dialog box. So here This is a very simple, you don't require any server or any API, or you need not specify the version in your app and try to compare it with it. So you can just make use of a remote configuration. It is that easy. You can display an alert dialog box, and the information also we are getting from the remote configuration itself, like app update, continue with app update. So everything is much easier using the remote configuration for app update alert dialog box in your Flutter application. So yes, I think this is it for this tutorial, and if you are having any queries in this particular implementation, do let me know in the comment section below. The code for this tutorial is available in the description section below, and if you like this tutorial, do like, share and subscribe to our channel for more interesting content on Flutter.